We're very honored today to have the Assistant Attorney General for the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice, Eric Dreibrand. Eric?
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, everyone. And Mike, thank you for the opportunity to join with you today on this important topic. I'm very grateful to be here. And this issue of human trafficking is a very serious issue, and it is a priority of both the Department of Justice in terms of prosecuting and working with victims, but it's also one of the President himself. President Trump recently called me into the Oval Office and told me directly that he regards the prosecution of human trafficking as among his highest priorities as President of the United States. It is also my distinct honor to join today with Commissioner Fisher and Speaker Gunn. So thank you for joining in this effort, and Mike and Chad, thank you. This is very important work, and thank you to everyone here. I'm grateful. The President himself is grateful for your efforts, and I've spoken as well with Attorney General William Barr several times about the importance of our human trafficking prosecution unit, human trafficking prosecutions generally, and also, as Chad said, the importance of working with the victims of these horrific crimes to help get their lives on track after they've experienced such abuses. As you know, the fight against human trafficking is one of the top priorities both of the Department of Justice in general and the Civil Rights Division, which I head from Washington, D.C. And it has long been a cornerstone of the work that we do in the Civil Rights Division to protect the rights of all individuals, including especially the most vulnerable people. And the most vulnerable people among us are those people who are victimized by these human trafficking schemes and these horrific crimes, which, as Mike said, and I agree, are really a modern day form of slavery. Seeking behalf of those held in servitude has been a paramount concern of the Civil Rights Division since its founding more than 60 years ago, several decades before Congress passed the Trafficking Victims Protection Act in 2000. And that Trafficking Victims Protection Act is one of the cornerstones of the federal laws that we are able to enforce here with people in the two U.S. Attorney's offices here in Mississippi. Now, the crimes of human trafficking and modern day slavery involve intolerable deprivations of individual rights, freedom, and dignity. And we remain steadfast in our commitment to eradicating these degrading forms of exploitation from our society. As you know all too well, and many of my colleagues here know all too well, even better than I do, human trafficking has many faces. We often see the images of young women and girls, perhaps resembling migrants from faraway lands, appearing abused and afraid, marketed as sexualized commodities. We do, unfortunately, face pervasive threats of sex trafficking perpetrated against vulnerable young women and girls who are lured into the United States from impoverished nations, recruited on false promises of love, marriage, and a better life, and then compelled into forced prostitution through violence, threats, and psychological manipulation. We have learned from decades of working with courageous survivors that trafficking takes many forms. Traffickers target both children and adults, as Mike said. They prey on United States citizens, as well as authorized visa holders and undocumented individuals from outside the United States. And they victimize men and boys, as well as women and girls. Because trafficking is a crime of exploitation, it requires no smuggling, transportation, or movement of any kind, which means that victims can be and are exploited locally within their own communities. They do not even have to be brought across state lines, much less smuggled across international borders, although that kind of transportation does occur outside the United States, importing people into the United States and even into Mississippi from outside the state, even within the United States. Victims of human trafficking are often subjected to brutal violence, though many are controlled through psychological coercion, debts, threats of deportation, or manipulation of access to addictive drugs. Invisible chains that can be very hard to detect. We've had cases where drug dealers will force women into human trafficking, get them addicted to drugs, and then use that addiction to manipulate them into forced prostitution. Traffickers exploit their victims through forced labor in a wide range of legitimate industries as well, including hospitality, healthcare, agriculture, domestic service, nail salons, and sales crews. We see sex trafficking of both minors and adults within the commercial sex trades that take place over the internet, on street corners, and at truck stops, but also at migrant labor camps, brothels, and massage parlors, casinos, and cantinas. Partnerships are critically important in our fight to eradicate all forms of human trafficking. To detect the subtle signs of these insidious forms of exploitation, we must rely on the community. Faith-based organizations, healthcare providers, first responders, and code inspectors to act as our eyes and ears and to make us aware in law enforcement of what is happening as they learn about it. To earn the trust of traumatized survivors who are often too afraid to come forward, we work with non-governmental organizations with expertise in victim-centered, trauma-informed strategies for stabilizing victims. And we do this in order to earn the trust of victims, which enables us both to work with them and also to prosecute our cases. And to dismantle complex trafficking enterprises that often extend across several jurisdictions, we often rely, and typically do rely, on a broad-based team of federal, state, local, and tribal law enforcement partners, sometimes working with multiple districts, each bringing specialized expertise in the range of criminal conduct associated with the trafficking scheme. This can include money laundering, racketeering, wire fraud, narcotics distribution, alien smuggling, child pornography, extortion, and numerous other related violations. That's why broad-based multidisciplinary partnerships have proven to be a cornerstone of success in fighting against human trafficking. And that's why I applaud the leadership of these two outstanding United States attorneys, Mike and Chad, in launching this statewide Human Trafficking Coordination Council. The Civil Rights Division at the Justice Department commends the momentum you are generating with the decisive actions you've taken to face these challenges head on. Anti-trafficking experts from the Civil Rights Division, Human Trafficking Prosecution Unit, have worked with some key members of your team here in Mississippi over the past week, and we are excited about the progress we are seeing as a result of this promising partnership that has been developing in recent months. Your leadership, Mike and Chad in particular, and commitment place you at the forefront of our nation's longstanding fight to eradicate all forms of human trafficking, modern-day slavery, and involuntary servitude. The Civil Rights Division and its Human Trafficking Prosecution Unit are prepared to stand with you every step of the way, as is the President himself and the Attorney General. We're proud to join you in announcing the launch of this statewide Human Trafficking Coordination Council, and we're honored to partner with you in facing the many challenges that lie ahead in bringing traffickers to justice and restoring the rights and freedoms to trafficking victims. Thank you.